Great. Hey, everyone. Thank you, Chris and Solitaire. Thank you for inviting me to give this talk. So I'm going to share my screen. Quick commercial before I get started. Don't forget, there's an election coming up. There's a special election for clean water and open space. There's a bond. There are several bonds on the ballot. One of them pertains to open space and clean water. March 2nd is the election day. Early in-person voting starts now, today. And if you have a mail ballot, you can get that in now. End of commercial. So the Nature Conservancy, we're a global organization. We are based in the United States. I work for the Rhode Island chapter of the Nature Conservancy. So in the United States, we're broken up into 50 little pieces. Every state has a chapter. I used to work in Providence. I now work from my home in Cumberland. We're based in the United States, but we work around the world. So what I'm going to talk about today is all Rhode Island, but we are quite a good-sized organization, and these are where my coworkers work. They work in Spain and China and Australia and Argentina and all kinds of places like that. I'm going to talk a lot about our nature preserves, but there are some other things that we do in Rhode Island that are interesting, I think, and I think will make a difference. This used to be a dam. There used to be a dam here until about 4 years ago. This was in Hopkinton, Rhode Island, and actually Hopkinton is behind me. Westerly, we're looking at Westerly on the other side of the river. There used to be a dam here when we removed it. And to allow fish that come back from the ocean, come back into freshwater in the springtime. They'll be back in April. They couldn't get past the dam. We took the dam out, and now they'll be able to swim back and forth, which is great. So that is a big project. That is about a $2 million project, and we did that with a lot of partners. But I just offer that as an example of the scale at which the Nature Conservancy can complete a project. We started working in cities about 5 years ago in Rhode Island. This is in Providence. We got our start by protecting forests and farms and places out in the middle of nowhere where very few people live. Great hotspots for nature, not so many people around. And so it wasn't until about 5 years ago that we started to work where people actually live. And so trying to bring nature back to places where there isn't too much of it. And we need lots more of it. So this is a rain gardens and tree plantings. We work in Providence, Central Falls, Pawtucket, East Providence. This is downtown Providence. We ran the dredging project. If you've been to Waterfire, if you've been to Water Place Park in the past at low tide, that has been an open mud flat. No more, not after the dredging project. We removed all that. It wasn't really mud flat. It wasn't really mud. It was sand. It was road sand that got put down after snowstorms, snowstorm after snowstorm, sand, more sand, more sand, more sand. It all washed into the river and sat there. So we scooped it all up and carted it away. And now there's a river through downtown Providence again, the Monasquatucket River, actually. So we do work in Providence. We do some interesting construction projects. We work on Narragansett Bay, typically working in the upper part of the bay. So from between Warwick and Pawtucket, checking out all the cool things that live in Narragansett Bay that nobody really knew about. We kind of stopped. Upper Narragansett Bay was polluted. The waters were polluted. Not much lived there. It was pretty gross. So, but the state of Rhode Island, the people of Rhode Island made some changes. We stopped dumping pollution to Narragansett Bay, and nature came back. And look at that, like this. This is called a pipefish. It's related to, it's a relative of the seahorse. This is what it looks like. It's not missing fins or anything. It's a really cool fish, and awesome things like that live in very urban parts of Narragansett Bay. And our scientists are out there documenting all of this. These are reef balls. They look like upside down stone wiffle balls, but they are reef balls. And this was where they were made in Florida. They were trucked up to Rhode Island a couple of years ago and dropped into Narragansett Bay again. This is in East Providence. And they are home for fish now. the fish did not have anywhere to live. It was a open sandy bottom, no place to hide for the no place for the baby fish to hide. They got eaten up by the big fish. And but you need baby fish to get big fish. Baby fish need to grow into the big fish. So in order for them to survive long enough, you got to give them a place to hide, a place to find food, and all that. So this is a new boat ramp. We also work on public access projects, helping people get their boats in and out of the water. New project is coming to Lincoln Woods in Lincoln. This is hard to figure out what this is exactly because it's just a very plain drawing, but we are helping to build some new facilities at Lincoln Woods so more people can rent kayaks right there at the park and make it really easy to get in and out of the water. People of all abilities will be able to use these boats. That's going to be great. We work on farms, protecting big farms with fun cows. And now we're going to turn to what we are actually here to talk about is places where you and your families can go to hike. This is Tillinghouse Pond in West Greenwich, Rhode Island. This is not Maine. This is not Michigan. This is Rhode Island. This is where we live. This is about 40 minutes from Providence, a little longer from up here, 45, 50 minutes, probably from my house in Cumberland down 295 and so forth. But this is Tillinghouse Pond. We own, the Nature Conservancy has protected everything you see around it. That whole area of forest is protected. This is give you a sense of the trail map. This is our biggest preserve. Families typically, I'll see families right in the middle. There's a parking lot here in the middle of the preserve, and you can do this nice loop all the way around the pond. Really beautiful place. Lots of birds, lots of especially birds along the pond. Different types of forests, some big boulders, some these tan markings here. These are hay fields. Those are farm fields. So those are the kind of nice mix in between the open fields and into the woods and back out into the fields again. Right over a couple of spots, just run here, there's a dock that looks out on the water. You can go out on the dock and hang out there for a while, eat your lunch or whatever you like. A couple other places to, you can check out. Get the views. This is the view of the pond. It's like I said, it's protected all the way around. The trail makes a nice loop all around this pond. Probably take you an hour and a half or so if you're not going too fast. This is in the summer, of course. There's a big old barn. We just bought this barn a little over a year ago. This is across the street from the pond. Just a nice landmark out there. Let's give you a sense for the area we're talking about. This is what the trail looks like. This is what a lot of our hiking trails look like. They are not roads. They are hiking paths that we made with volunteers. We created these paths through the woods. And we try to find interesting things to walk over and around, over stone walls or along a stone wall, through between some big trees, around the big boulder, that sort of thing. We had to make these paths. We just bought the woods, and the woods didn't come with trails. We had to make the trails. Trails were extra. So in order to design these trails, we did an inventory. We went through the woods and where are all the interesting things, jotted them down on a map, and then we connected the dots, and that's how we made these trails. Up here on the left, there's a trail blaze. I didn't see that when I picked this photo, but now I see it. It's half white and half yellow. So when you're going through the woods, as you probably know, you're looking, each trail has a different color. There's a red trail, orange trail, yellow trail, white trail, etc. And so to make sure you're going in the right direction and you're still on the trail that you want to be on, you follow the colors, follow the dots through the woods. In this case, there are two trails that overlap. One loop goes this way and one loop goes that way. And so where the trails overlap, we blaze them in both colors so that you are on yellow and white at the same time. So that's where you know where you are on the trail. We put maps out in the field. So when you come to an intersection, there's a map there. You can give you an idea of which way you're going to go, right or left or whatever. But it's beautiful beautiful piece of forest in Rhode Island. Like I said, stone walls, lots of, and Rhode Island is lined with these old stone walls. Many of them are hundreds of years old, built for farm. Yeah, they had a farming purpose, and now they just rest quietly and peacefully in the woods, and they're really and chipmunks run in and out of them. I've seen a red fox run right along the top of a stone wall like this, which is pretty cool. So they're homes for wildlife now. And we are still adding to it. So this is just a different map. This is the same pond I showed you. This is the trail that goes around the pond. And a couple of years ago, this property, which was not protected, not part of the park, was up for sale. And we were able to buy that and add it to what we've already protected. So that will be open someday for people to walk on. That's pretty nice. So that's in West Greenwich, western part of the state on the Connecticut border. This is going in the other direction in the southeast corner of the state near Fall River, really is the nearest city. But this is Little Compton. This is called Goosewing Beach. It is a beach, not a South County beach, but an East Bay beach. Town of Little Compton, beautiful ride. It's about, again, that's a little longer. That might be an hour ride from here, but it was a beautiful drive through farms and nice open ride. And when you get down to the beach, this is a visitor center, a little education center, the Benjamin Family Environmental Center, and that's just behind the beach in a field. And we do programs from there in normal times, not in COVID times, but normally it is open. This is from that Benjamin Center looking out at the beach. This beach, there's a grassy field behind the beach over in the dunes, but that beach, you can see the waves on the right, on the center of the photograph. The beach is a mile long. Those houses at the end, house is on the horizon. They're in Massachusetts. They're in Westport, Massachusetts. The foreground is Little Compton, Rhode Island. And it is packed tight, I have to say, in the summer, but there's not a soul down there right now. So it is a nice place. If you like to walk on the beach in the winter, this is a great spot to go because it's super quiet and peaceful. It's important to the Nature Conservancy because it is one of a few places where piping plovers nest in Rhode Island. This is called a piping plover, and these are its chicks. You can see the chicks underneath the mom, keeping safe. This is what their nest looks like. It's not broken. It's not missing. This is all they nest in. They make a little depression in the sand and lay their eggs, and the chicks hatch out right there. So they are. It's hard to do that on a beach when you have people who want to play and spread out all their beach toys and dig in the sand and all that. But so we have staff whose job is to take care of them, to protect them, to keep them safe from people and other wildlife like crows and gulls and foxes that might like to grab one of those chicks if they get the chance. So it's a rare thing in Rhode Island, but it's also a gorgeous spot. And like I said, we do programs for kids there in the summer. We weren't able to do it last summer. I don't know if we're going to do it this summer, but eventually we will get back there. And we do lots of discovery programs for kids in the summer at Goosewing, all free. No, next one. So this is on to number 3 already. Third stop on the tour. This is also in Little Compton. It's around the corner from, I shouldn't say, it's a sort of up the road from Goosewing Beach. And this is a 2-parter. The John C. Whitehead Preserve is what the whole thing is called. Part of it is what you see here, open fields, little ponds, lots of flowers, some birds, and that sort of thing. This was it's very park-like. It's a sort of place. It's a great place for families because there's lots to see. There's always something different to see, and you can see for a way, so you don't have to be right on top of each other as you're walking along. And you can just kind of go slow and explore and see what you see. Smell us up, and in the summertime, smell the flowers. And it's also very nice right now. It's very peaceful. In the summer, you can see cool things like this. This is a hummingbird moth. It's not a hummingbird, it's a moth. It looks like a hummingbird, flies like a hummingbird, a little bit smaller than a hummingbird. It's a good sized moth. So they're probably about that big. But it's hummingbird moth, and you can find them there, in the summer. Really cool, other cool stuff like that. This is an ovenbird. This is one of many birds that right now are in Central. They're still down in South and Central America for the winter, and they're getting ready for their migration north. And they come out of the tropics and fly all the way up into North America, Rhode Island, and beyond. This is one example. It's called the ovenbird. It's a pretty small bird. It's maybe a little bit bigger than a goldfinch, but not much. And this is a pond. All of this, again, this is a Whitehead Preserve. So you kind of walk through these little open spaces, almost like nature galleries. Like there's a field and some woods, and another field and some woods. And finally, you come out to this bigger pond at the end. It's a really nice view. There's ducks in here all the time, robins and bluebirds and orioles in the summer. So it's an old farm. What used to be a farm, this is a farm pond. That is really moving. It was probably marsh, was made into a pond, and is now retreating back into going back to what it used to be, which was open marsh or freshwater marsh. Anyway, whatever you call it, lots of wildlife and a great spot. Not a very long walk. This is a nice, easy, gentle, flat walk, but lots to see. So same preserve, Whitehead Preserve. Like I said, it's a two-parter. One part is open, the sort of farm field. Second part is called the Dundery Brook Trail. The two are merged. The two come into each other, to cross each other. So the farm path comes in this way, and the boardwalk comes up that way. So there's this long boardwalk through the woods. It's just beautiful. This was taken a few years ago, kind of in a dry winter. We've had more storms this year, and so it could well be standing water. So that's why this boardwalk is here, because it is very soft and wet and muddy and maybe mucky. So we built this boardwalk so people could walk through it, not get their shoes wet, not get all muddy, and not disturb wildlife around them. You sort of just pass through the forest. On this boardwalk. It is it's very level. It's a good, it's easy access for everyone, whether you can run or run or not, go slow, go fast. One thing I would say about this place, I didn't mention, the other preserves that I've shown, they are open to dogs. This is not. This is one of the few places. Most of the Nature Conservancy's preserves in Rhode Island are open to dogs. This one is not, because it is a boardwalk. One, because dogs can make a mess, and that's gross, unfortunately. So we don't really want that on the boardwalk. But also, if maybe you don't like dogs, a lot of people are afraid of dogs, and that's okay. But if you're afraid of a dog and someone is bringing a dog the other way, there's nowhere to go. You can't just step off the trail, step into the woods like you might on another preserve. There's really nowhere to go, especially if this forest is flooded. So this is just one place where we say, no, I think we're just going to make this for people. You have to take the dog someplace else for a walk. This is what it looks like in the winter. I don't have too many winter photos. This is the same preserve. It's a little bit farther down the trail, and you can see it's just absolutely gorgeous in the winter. This is also a winter photo, I should say. The sun is really low in this photo. This is only about 2 o'clock, maybe. But with a little bit of snow, it's fantastic. Next up, fourth one. This is in Lincoln. This isn't so far away. This is only in the next town over. And you can see on the map, I think, 146 crosses in the top right-hand corner, and Route 116, this is in Lincoln, goes across the very top of the image here, across the top of the map. This is 116 in Lincoln, where the Lincoln Mall is, where Target is, where Panera is, all those things, they're like right up here. And there are some woods that you drive by that you may not pay attention to, might not even notice. Those woods are part of the Ost Family Preserve, or what we used to call the Lime Rock Preserve in Lincoln. You wouldn't notice it so much from Target, say, because there is not an entrance right off of the highway. This is we're not able to put an entrance in here. The entrance is down here on the south side, off a back road, Wilbur Road, which is off of 146. So you would drive right by it up here and not know that this amazing little corner of Lincoln is conserved and is open and free to everyone. One note about this place about Lincoln, it has definitely, this is a place that in the pandemic has been discovered. Lots and lots of people are discovering Ost or the Lime Rock Preserve, and that is both good and bad. It's great that people are discovering it. That's why we protected it. That's what it's there for, in part. It's there for wildlife and for people. So we love people getting outside and enjoying nature and having a good time out in the woods. Challenge is that so down here where the parking is, in the south end, you only see this little bit here. That's how much of the road that we own. This little bit here and this little bit here. So everybody who wants to go there has to park right here and nowhere else. And so there's a house here, there's a house here, there's a house here, house here, house here. Lots of houses. This is a very suburban neighborhood. And behind all these houses, there's great protected woods, but there's very little place to park. And so we have had a little bit of a challenge. We've had some hard conversations with our neighbors, shall we say, about the number of visitors that we can permit at the property. So this is a kind of place that, it's close by, so it's no big, if it's full, if the parking lot is full, we can accommodate maybe like 6 cars at a time. And if it's full, well, at least you haven't gone too far from home to get there, and you could go to Lincoln Woods, which is just down the road, and it's also lovely. It's a great place to go at sort of an off time, during the week. If you can get away during the week, it's a nice place to go. 9 o'clock on a Tuesday, probably an off time, that sort of thing. If you were to try to go on the first warm Saturday in spring, like when we get into April on that first day that it's about 60 degrees, it's going to be packed, and you might find some angry neighbors. So find an off time to go to this preserve, but it's fantastic. And again, another place with a nice soft, not soft, but flat trail. This is the pond off to the right-hand side down the hill. This used to be 100 years ago or more, this was a trolley line. There was a train that went down this path. This hill we're looking at was built to carry trains through what was then wide open. The woods were taken down. This trolley line was created. People went from Woonsocket to Providence via this trolley line. That's all gone now. And the forest grew back up. The trolley line went out of business, and all of the equipment is gone. And the forest grew back, and now it's a nature preserve. But it's a really nice, smooth walk, and you get kind of up into the trees. It's a different perspective because the trees are growing up from the bottom, and so instead of being at the bottom of the tree trunks and only seeing like the top of the bottom 6 feet of a tree, you're up quite a bit, and so you're like 30 feet up into the trees, and that's just a different perspective. Get a better look at some birds. It's a great spot. I love going there. Some cool rocks. This is a big rock outcrop. This is just kind of interesting. You don't usually see a lot of this in Rhode Island. This is called a black and white warbler. Another bird that right now is down in Central or South America. There's nothing wrong with the photo. The photo is not upside down or sideways or anything. Photo is right. The bird is right. The bird is upside down. This is how they can go upside down. They go up and down, back and forth. And you can see it's got a little caterpillar in its mouth. Then this is not in Panama. This is Lincoln, Rhode Island. And we have really cool looking birds just like that you can see. And there's a pond, and also a pond in the middle of this preserve. There's a pond in the fall, pond in the spring. The leaves are just coming out here. What I didn't get a good shot of is that there's a great spot if you want to like bring a snack or something. I go with my nephew. My nephew is 8. His name is Henry, and we go here sometimes. And this is a good place to, this is maybe 20 minutes into the woods. You can stop here, sit on the grass, have a drink, some fruit snacks, whatever it is you have going on in your bag. I don't have a picture of the actual spot, but this is what you're looking at anyway. And this is not a great looking photo maybe, but the spot I'm talking about, the picnic area, is like up here on the top. This is a big long dam that is creating the pond, that's holding the pond water back. And this is down at the bottom of the dam looking back up it. So you can imagine you get a great view from up here, either from the pond in one direction or back toward the stream in the other direction. You can go down, there's no trail here, but you can just explore it, and you can kind of come down the hill and check out the stream and look for flowers or look for bugs or, listen to birds, whatever's around. It's just kind of a fun spot to explore. Now going to South County. Last two are in South County. This is way down in Charlestown. This is a good drive, 55, 60-minute drive probably. Another big preserve, the second largest preserve, over 1,000 acres. Lots of woods and a great big field. One of the biggest open, other than farms, the biggest wild field probably in Rhode Island is here. Here's a look at a corner of it. Again, another great. There's a start on the high ground, and the trail goes downhill. You get one downhill, and then you're out into this big open field. Beautiful walk all the way around the field. There's usually bluebirds. This is a good spot for bluebirds if you want to check out where bluebirds are. This is a good spot. Deer and owls. You can hear owls in the evening here. Fantastic spot. This is a towhee. This is an example of a bird you might see there. Again, this is a bird. Picture was taken in Rhode Island. Very common. Some pretty butterflies. Part of the preserve is like I said, it's a big open field. The higher ground is very different looking. It's all woods and kind of rocky, and this gives you a flavor for what that looks like, what this trail looks like. Much more open. Remember the first one we had, because it was a path through kind of dark woods. This is a path. Woods are different, much more open, much more light hitting the ground. Lots of shrubs coming up. These red shrubs, the red leaves, those are all called huckleberries, cousin of the blueberry, and so it's kind of just different experience. And there's all kinds of trails here. You can spend a full day here if you really like to hike. This is the Pawcatuck River, runs right through the preserve. Fantastic spot. Final stop on the tour. This is the King Preserve. This is in North Kingstown, Rhode Island, 1A, off of Route 1A. Not too far from the Jamestown Bridge, really, for a landmark. It is right next door to Casey Farm, if you're familiar with North Kingstown. Again, all these places are open to the public. They're all free. And a fairly simple trail system that starts up in the woods and slopes down gradually slopes down to a little beach down here on the west side and the left side of that map. These are planted spruce trees. We did not plant them. We bought it this way. They're not native trees, and they're not particularly important ecologically not particularly important to wildlife, but they're very beautiful. And if you've ever seen a photo of the King Preserve online on Facebook, guaranteed it's the spot. This is the most photographed spot on the preserve. Better photos than this, but it's kind of a neat feature. This is what the trail used to look like. This trail when we opened it, got a lot of love, got a lot of attention, a lot of hikers, and it was kind of wet, and that wet soil turned into muck. Luckily, we were able to find some friends to help us build a boardwalk over the muck, so you don't have to walk in the mud anymore. It's a nice place. If maybe you went there in the early days, it's kind of wet, it's kind of mucky. We are fixing that. Not perfect yet, but it's a lot better than it used to be. And this again, same preserve. This is King. Nice stream. Lots of probably a couple of streams that run through the preserve. Lots of places, lots of crossings and places to check out the stream like this. This is running full. This is probably April, May, early May. It's a beautiful spot, and it's protected forever. I mentioned there was a little beach. This is that little beach on the far west end of the King Preserve. This is also not too far from the Gilbert Stuart birthplace, if you've ever been there. That's sort of up to the way in the back of this photo. And ospreys, that's sort of the signature bird, signature wildlife of the King Preserve. There are ospreys that nest right there. These are great big fish catching and fish eating birds. One of the bigger hawks that that we see in Rhode Island dive right in the water and come out with a fish. It's a really great show. And I'm going to close with some how all these trails are made. They're made by volunteers for the most part. Some staff work and a lot of volunteers who gave us their time and energy and great ideas, and built these boardwalks for us. We didn't have a bobcat, we didn't have a four-wheeler to take the lumber into the woods. It's all carried by people, and these are the people who did the carrying, and we're very grateful to them. Some projects are hard to even believe that we pulled this off, but there it is. We built this bridge across the stream. This is at the place we started, Tillinghouse Pond, the very first preserve on the tour. This is there. We love this spot. And that's it. That is the end of my show. Those are all places that are open. If you're looking for something to do on February vacation or any time of the year, these preserves are provided, managed by the Nature Conservancy, but open to the public. And I'm going to, I'm not sure how we will handle this. If there are questions, I'm happy to take them.